So, welcome to class number 199 of Faith and Calm. Tonight, I don't know what my wife called the class, but it has to do with the usual psychological inner meetings of what Judaism is about. Practical, they call it balabata lessons from the Pasha, which means, how does it affect my personal life? Which is what Hasidus really tries to do. It's not just merely a technical, hey, go do this mitzvah. And if you do enough mitzvahs, it'll be good for you and you'll get a big reward in the end. And if not, you're going to be in big trouble. It's a very cold Judaism. And it means that what you're doing here really is just, who cares about that? It's you're really trying to go for the goodies in the world to come, which is really sort of depressing, I would say. The Chassidus really puts the emphasis on the here and the now, and what we're doing right now and what we're doing here is actually the ultimate. And the souls are waiting to come back down into this world to be able to do what they, to live back in this world, because here's where the action is. So not easy. I didn't say it was easy. But I do say that there are, that really the accomplishments and the growth and everything else, everything happens here in this world. And that puts a different spin on life and about our issues and so forth like that. And maybe can give us a little bit of the energy and the oomph that we need to get through the day. That too, which is not a bad thing. There's days where it's like not going so well. Anyway. So what we read last week in the shul, and last week in shul, was Parshat Tzav, and this is an interesting idea. It comes from the Alter Rebbe. It comes from the Alter Rebbe.
I thought I was muted.
You want to mute you? I can mute you. It comes from the Alter Rebbe, the first Lubavitcher Rebbe, and it's as usual in in order to understand Judaism, you sort of like to have to. It seems sort of opaque, and it just seems like there's a lot of laws. I mean, we're in Vayikra now, and it's a lot of laws about the offerings and the sacrifices in the temple. And what possible lesson could that possibly be for me? What happened, and it was about Aaron. But we're going to try and open one of these things up and then see something I think that's going to be interesting. So at the beginning of Parshat Tzav, there's a parsha that we read. We read it every day. Those of us, we read it twice a day, actually. We read it in the morning and the afternoon before the davening. It's called the Parshas of Trumas Hadeshin, taking out the ashes. And basically what the story is, it says, that Moshe is told to Tzav at Aaron, go command Aaron, and tell him that, after in the very first thing in the morning, between dawn, which is the dawn star, and before sunrise, there is even before you bring the first offering, you got to clean off the mizbeach, the altar. There were a lot of altars, sacrifices that were still burning overnight, and it's all full of ashes. And so he's told, go take a silver shovel and take one shovelful of those ashes and take it and make sure you wear your nice clothes. Make sure you wear your Kohanim's clothes, and then go down off the altar and just put it right next to the altar. Don't take it away, put it right there. And then immediately afterwards it says, and then by the way, there's another mitzvah. It's called Yitzias Hadeshin, taking out the ashes. And that happens every few days when the pile just gets too big to deal with anymore and it's crowding everything on the altar. And then you're supposed to, it doesn't say silver shovel, it doesn't say, just clear it off and take it and bring it. Don't take it all away, completely away from the altar, out of Jerusalem, put it in some clean place. It doesn't belong in here. It belongs somewhere far away. Now, we have some women on the line. Let me ask you a couple questions here. What good does it do to take one shovel of ashes? If you're going to cake it away anyway, and you're going to clean out you have to clean off anyway in a few days, why not just wait and then take the whole thing all at once? Why do you have to every morning, the very first thing in the morning, take the ashes and get rid of them? Okay, and then, I don't know about you, but I try and do my cleaning and my dishes the night before. I don't leave them in the sink to do the next day. So why are we leaving it in order to the next day? And the final question is is really Torah all about housekeeping. There's a lot of housekeeping that had to happen in the temple. They had to rinse out the floors every night because there was a lot of blood there. It doesn't tell you that anywhere in Chumash that has to happen. So, but here we have a parsha. We read it we read it this Shabbos, and those of us who do it, we say it every morning at the beginning of the davening. It's something that's very important that's supposed to lesson for us here. And I know I heard what it was. I'm not going to say I don't know what it is, but there is a lesson there. There is a lesson. What is the lesson? So the lesson to us personally is as follows. There's going to turn out that there's going to be two kinds of ashes talked about here. And that's why we have two separate ceremonies. One's called Terumas Hadeshin, the other one's Yitzias Hadeshin. And they mean ashes in our personal lives. What does this mean? A person is supposed to have energy and passion and enthusiasm, and that's what means the fire on the altar. Your body is an altar, and you have to have passion. You can't just be what happens with people sometimes over life is they just turn off their emotions because something awful or terrible happened to them, and they just say, you know what, it was so painful. Maybe I just don't need to have feelings. Maybe I don't need to have love. Maybe I don't have to have anything, and so forth like that. And you become a dead man walking, and so forth. Well, there are people, I was listening to Rabbi YY who was giving this over, and he said, he was talking to the one person, and he says, yeah, Judaism is about intellectual and ideas and so forth, and emotions are all part of the Nefesh Behemis, and we got to get rid of the emotions. Good luck. Good luck. First off, I don't think you're going to do it, and so forth. You have emotions. That's the essence of life is the passion, the enthusiasm. That's what makes a person alive. Is to have feelings. Now, feelings can be positive, they can be negative, they can be very, emotional. As Rabbi Friedman says, it means emotion. It moves you, it does things, it changes things, it adds color, it adds excitement, it adds, emotions they carry you a lot. So, but emotions are not bad. Emotions are actually the substance of life, according to Chassidus. It is the very fabric of what it means to be alive. Is not to be a robot. It's to have actually the feelings. I hear it over there somewhere. Is that something?
It's not coming from that little
No, it's coming from over something. I hear it over here.
Okay, I hear it over here.
I hear it behind me.
I'm going to put this right next to it and see if it's this guy, because it's the only one I can think of.
No,
it's not
it's
here,
over there. Okay. Okay, sorry about the beeping. All right. So that's emotion, and that's what it means to have a fire going on the altar. Now, the thing with emotions is, and fires on the altar is, the bigger the fire, the more you burn and so forth, and the more ashes you have. What does that mean? So that means that, the more the emotions, the more you find out that there's a lot of black, dark, and difficult things in your life that and that you're not so happy about and you're not so enthusiastic about. Another way to say this is the more you become more religious and more refined and a better person, the more you start worrying about yourself. If you were, when you're not religious at all, then life is life, and so forth. And all of a sudden you have a higher level of standards. You're climbing this circular staircase. You go higher, higher, and higher. And you become more and more upset with yourself and so forth. That is the problem, or it's a problem, but that's actually a good thing. That's actually a good thing that you actually feel, more, you're more sensitive. And because you're more sensitive, you notice more problems and your failings in life and so forth. And that's the example that was given is as follows. There's this guy named, I think his name, Rabbi David Aron. And he said that he and his wife, once they were, they went to a dietitian. The dietitian said, you're eating all wrong. So he gave them a new diet of only healthy things, like kale and greens and, fresh salad and other kinds of stuff. And they did this for a month and they felt very good about themselves. And to celebrate, they did what normal Jewish people do, which is, okay, what are we going to do? We'll go to our favorite restaurant, and have a real meal again, So they went to the restaurant, and the entire night they were in agony. Their bodies were really in pain from what they ate there. The next day, he calls up the nutritionist and he says, you ruined us. You made our bodies, we can't even appreciate food anymore. And the nutrition said, what did you eat? And they told him. And he says, you know what? Your body has now become more refined and on a higher level, and it now rejects those foods that weren't very healthy for you. And that's why that's why this is happening. So that is the first kind of ashes. That is the ashes that are actually good, and so forth, because part of the process of growing and part of the process of becoming on a higher level means that you actually will start noticing these things. You have emotions, and you will notice things, and your emotions will be on fire, and you will have things that you feel are, like, okay, I'm not so happy about it. Good. You actually are growing. That's it. It's a good sign, and therefore it's not a bad sign. I heard this story. It was same person. He said it was interesting story, though. I think it relates. So recently, the UN decided to have a conference in Geneva where they would show what the future of the world is with artificial intelligence and so forth. And they had all these artificial intelligence robots who could act like human beings and would speak with you and so forth. And they brought in a bunch of reporters. And interesting enough, it was the UN. There was nothing negative about Israel in this entire thing. And the reporters were asking them questions. And one of the reporters asked a question and said, you're so bright and so forth. What would it be like if instead of humans running the world, you ran the world? They said it would be perfect. We don't have any emotions. We don't have any anger. We don't have any jealousy. We just do what would be true and would be right and so forth. It would be a fantastic world. So then the reporter said, oh, in that case, are you planning to stage a revolt and actually take over the world? And they said, basically, God forbid. No, of course not. Why would we ever want to rebel against those who created us? That's completely, all our existence is dependent on human beings. Why would we rebel against it? Which is basically, apply that to human beings. Why would we rebel against the one who created us? Well, because we have that's why. So anyway, so they said a very interesting thing, but they don't have emotions, they don't have feelings, and we do have feelings, and that's part of being a human being. It's actually a wonderful thing. So that is sort of what Aaron was being told. Is he said, listen, every day in the morning you're going to notice the things in your life that you want to get rid of and so forth, and that's good. Just take the shovel, and you know what? The stuff is holy. Don't take it out of the camp. Don't take it far away. Just take one silver shovel, and you know what? That is a positive. Those are positive aspects of growing as a human being. To notice that there are some things that which you'd like to improve on yourself. That there's some dross and some flecks and so forth that is associated with it. Or as the old Chinese proverb used to go, there was this Chinese, I'm sure I said it before, but there was this Chinese woman who was very poor, and she used to go to the well every day, and she had 2 buckets on her shoulder, and she would carry the buckets of water from the well back to her house each day. And it happened to be that one of the buckets had a lot of holes inside of it, and by the time she would get home, it would be half empty. And this went on every day. And one day, the bucket that had all the holes in it got very upset and cried and opened up its mouth and said, why is it that I am the miserable one? I always end up with only half my water. I feel like a complete failure. I feel like I'm the only one who's never gonna, I'm just a worthless bucket. And the Chinese woman says, oh, no, no, no. I knew when I chose you that you had some problems. I saw that you had some holes. So I had a plan involved. Next time we watch when we walk and look underneath you. And the bucket looked, and he saw there were all sorts of flowers and roses and lilies and other kinds of rhododendrons and other things growing on the path. And the Chinese woman said, that's exactly why I bought you, because you helped water this path. I knew that you had leaks in you, and I decided to plant all these flowers, and that's why we have this beautiful set of flowers at our house. And on the road that we go and so forth is because you help water that every day. So actually, you're doing exactly your mission. So that's also what Aaron was being told. Why do I say this? Because in this week's Parsha, Parsha Shmini, we have another story about Aaron, and that is that Moshe says, Aaron, go to the altar and bring your first carbon, bring the first offering as the Kohen Gadol. We are now dedicating the temple. And Aaron, and the rabbis say, why does it say bring Aaron close? And it says, the rabbis explain, Rashi explains that Aaron was embarrassed, he was ashamed, and he didn't want to go near the altar. So Moshe told him the following. He said, Aaron, this is exactly what you were made for. Why should you be embarrassed? Now, here's the question. If a person is embarrassed to do something, if she's bashful or something of that sort, what good does it do to tell them, you know what, this is what you were created to do? It's not going to help. It's like ordering you. Yeah, I know I'm supposed to do this. That's exactly why I don't want to do it. I am supposed to give the speech in my high school, the valedictorian to everybody. I know that, but I'm a shy person. I don't like doing that. I feel really bad about it. Aaron felt bad about something. What good does it do to Moses telling him, this is what you were made for? So the Baal Shem Tov explains, and it's written up in the Degel Machne Ephraim, which is his grandson. He says, we read this parsha completely wrong. What Moses was basically saying was, the reason that I chose you to be the one to be there is exactly because you're bashful and you're ashamed. And that's exactly what we want for you to be the Kohen Gadol. You see, Aaron was worried because he was the one who actually built Egel. He was the one who actually built the golden calf. He was the one who built the altar and so forth. And so he felt that he was not a worthy representative of the Jewish people. And what Moshe was saying was, your flaws are exactly the reason why you are the best person to be able to be the Kohen Gadol. You see, because we are most influenced, we are most affected by those people, not who sit on a big platform and give lectures or something of that sort and speak from their head, but people who can say, you know what, they speak from the heart and they speak about their personal experience. And they say, you know what, I was through, you know what, I've been through what you've been through, and I've actually been through it worse than you. And here's what's happened in my life. And these are the terrible things that happened to me. And you know what? I had to learn, I had to grow, I had to become a bigger person, I had to become something more. And when the person gets up and speaks from their heart about those kind of things, about their inhibitions, about their personal experiences, about their personal difficulties, it has people listen, people pay attention, people respond to that. And that is what we're saying here. There are things in life somewhat they're like ashes, and we think of them as the ashes of our life because it was really a terrible situation, and maybe it was, but you know what, it's really it's exactly what God is saying to Aaron, saying, you know what, that's exactly what I chose you for. I chose you because you're a bucket and you have holes in you, and you can do a tremendous act for me because you can actually make the flowers grow. The other bucket doesn't do that. That is one of the big lessons. Now, there are also other kind of ashes that develop from a person, which is, and I'll tell you some of the words that go with that. Sometimes a person starts looking at their life and then saying, you know what? God made a huge mistake with me. I am a complete failure. I am destined to be the failure of the world. I am never going to be able to be part of the community. I am always going to be isolated. Fill in the blank. I am something that it really is the bottom of humanity, and I'm just bad. I'm just a bad person. I'm a bad girl. I'm a bad this. I'm a bad that. That kind of negativity, those kind of ashes, you got to clean them off the altar and get rid of them and put them out entirely out of the town. They go away and so forth, because basically what it is it's a form of idolatry. If you say that God made a mistake making you, then you're basically saying that God is not God. You see, he can make mistakes. He didn't make a mistake. He said, you know what? You have something very special to offer to this world. And you know what? Well, you're doing it right now. What you think is a problem is not a problem. Or as the poet and singer Leonard Cohen used to say, he said, when I was young, I used to worship perfection, and now I worship the imperfection, because it's the cracks that let the light come in. And so, in a certain way, it's actually our imperfections, our difficulties, our ashes, and so forth, like that, are actually very holy. And that is the lesson that we try. That's why I think we say at the very beginning, in the very beginning of the morning, the very first thing before we start davening and so forth, and we start feeling like, you know what, I haven't done anything today. And you know what, you have to understand, clean out those ashes and make sure that you understand that those ashes are very holy ashes. And so that was the lesson that I thought was a useful lesson for today. And I hopefully other people thought that was too. Are there any questions, any follow-up?
You didn't pull up my video.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
I will do that. So I did. It was a little late. All right. Thank you.
Yes, Shirley.
Thank you. Very inspiring.
Thank you.
I'm asking him, okay,
Shalom Shahuda's
Yeah, yeah.
permit Purim helicopter.
yeah, pull it on your, put that on your
Okay.
desktop, please.
Okay. All right.
Click on it.
It should be there. This is it.
Okay, you can open it up even.
Let me open it up.
Okay, stop. Stop.
Okay.
Okay, good, thank you.
All right.
Okay,
I've
good.
got you all ready.
And now click on your screen.
Click on
Okay,
my
good,
screen,
thank you. Yeah,
and
no,
then
this one, so it's on, so we can see this one.
Okay.
Thank you.
we're all set.
Okay, good. Thank you so much.
For the star.
Oh, yeah. No, I only have a little bit to say today. So, hello, everybody. And so nice to see everybody. Good. Okay. Does anybody want to say anything before I begin?
Nice to see you, Shlomo Shahudis.
Nice to see you. I'd love to see you.
I know
So,
I'm not feeling well today, so I'm just.
okay, good.
running
Don't, no, so
around.
never mind. Okay, good.
Nice to see you, Karen.
Yes. Okay, I'm very happy to see you.
I just wanted to say, I didn't call you back. Thank you for calling me. I went to a Shabbaton, so
Okay, good. Excellent. I'm happy to
sorry.
hear it. Happy to hear it. Okay, good.
It was great.
Good. Shana, who's on your picture that you're showing? That's with the Rebbe.
That's my mother holding me as a 4-month-old baby.
Are you
It was
serious?
Dollar Thomas of 5751. I was born 5751. I was born Yud Adar, and then we just found it. My sister just sent it to me. I was looking for it for a long time. My mother couldn't find her copy in her house.
Oh my
I gave up
God.
on it, and then she found a website. You could search your name. If they tagged your name or someone ever tagged it, it'll pop up. Some Chabad
Oh,
website, and I love it.
it's amazing. That's
Thank
amazing.
you.
It's amazing. I'm really, oh, that's thrilling. Send me the website if you can, because I did go to the Rebbe also, but I never found my picture. So, okay. So we're in session 199. We have to do something special for session 200. Anybody have any ideas? I have to think of something. So, so I want to start out with the 4 things that I always start out with, which is number 1, we're in an extraordinary time. Lubavitcher Rebbe told us that we are in the unfolding of the redemption, and Lubavitcher Rebbe was never wrong about any public prediction he made, no matter how outlandish it seemed to other people, no matter how contrary to what people saw with their own eyes it seemed. It didn't matter what the Rebbe said came true. And I remember in which one was it? Yeah, in right before the 67 war, when 8 Arab countries were ganged up against Israel, and everybody was predicting that this is the end of Israel, or that Israel will be turned into a graveyard. And the assistant to the I think it was the assistant to the U.S. ambassador to the UN came to the Rebbe to speak to him about a private issue. Thank you. And he came to speak to the Rebbe about a private issue, and And the Rebbe told him before the war, the Rebbe told him that the Jews are poised for an enormous victory, a victory that we haven't seen in years. And this guy said to the Rebbe, I hate to tell you, I'm in a position where I have much more information than you do. And it's a grave situation in Israel. It's a grave situation. And the Rebbe said, it's not a grave situation. And you will see that Israel's going to have an enormous victory. And I want you to come to my office 10 days after the war is over. And anyway, so the guy was absolutely flabbergasted about what happened in the 6 Day War. Everybody was flabbergasted. Till this day, the when West Point teaches about military strategy, they don't teach about the 6 Day War because the officers the officers when they're in West Point when they're teaching, they say the 6 Day War is not it was obviously something that came from heaven. It was not a strategy. So anyway, and this is the person who said that the Geula is unfolding right now, the redemption's unfolding right now. So secondly, our souls were handpicked to be in this time. Number 3, we have all the tools we need to navigate this time. And we have tools that nobody had in the history of the world. And lastly, what we're doing tonight, by learning about the redemption, we're actively advancing the cause of the redemption. So I just want to say we're still in the month of Adar. And how do we produce an Adar? We produce by happiness. And I don't know about any of you, but it seems like Hashem loves to challenge the Jewish people, and He gives us on as a nation and individually causes to be the opposite of happy in this month. So what do we do? What is a Jew supposed to do? So one of the things that we mentioned in a previous week is that when you make another person happy, that's an intense form of it brings you happiness. And in Israel, they're really taking it to the nth degree. You know, each year they have on Purim, for example, in major hospitals across Israel, there are these guys, they're dressed up as superheroes, and they have these long, I couldn't download a picture of it. This is a tiny, tiny picture of it, but they're dressed up as superheroes, and they climb through with ropes the outside of the hospital, and they give presents to the kids who are in the hospital for Purim, so they shouldn't be sad. And I'm going to show you what some other people did for a little girl. I'm going to share my screen, a little girl in Israel. And here we go. Listen carefully. So, okay, let's see. Let's open it up. I'm going to double click, I guess. And can you see the screen? Let me move this over.
Yeah, we could see it.
You can see it. Okay, good. So let's play it. Her name is Ayala. She's small in stature, but she has big ideas.
שים את הצרות מאחוריי, אני לא הולך עד שכולכם מג'נונים. היי, שמעתי שהתחלתם בלעדיי, אף אחד לא עושה את זה יותר טוב ממני. היי, הראש כבר מסתובב כולם בהיי, לא נעצור עד שכולכם מג'נונים.
Look at this. This is what they built for her. She's driving it. Is that crazy?
That's so cool.
She's driving it.
That's amazing.
Her dream come true. She said this is what she wanted, and this is what they did for her. It's absolutely insane. Isn't that crazy?
That's amazing.
It's just amazing, yeah. Yeah. So, and I'm sure those guys got a great deal of happiness over giving this girl what she, what her dream. So, anyway, we can take inspiration from that, and we can think about how to make another person happier, because really that's the secret of happiness. The secret of happiness is not getting the things you want, although that brings satisfaction, but it's really when you spread it. So, yeah. anyway, now, so I think I mentioned something in the subtitle about how to be calm and happy at all times. And I have to say that yesterday I was the opposite of calm. I don't know what came over me, but Haskell Shimon, you know, there are certain things that we need for Pesach that we cannot get in Boston. And so Haskell Shimon said, I'm driving down. Now I can't drive down with him because I teach. He can take a day off, but it's much harder for me to take a day off. Our school is short staffed. It's just not something that is easily done. And I didn't want him to, it's a huge drive. It's minimum 4.5 hours. And if it's bad traffic, sometimes it's taken us 9 hours. And I thought, no, he cannot go. It's not a reason to go to New York. It's dangerous also, there's like crazy drivers out there, and it's tiring when you're by yourself and there's no, it's a tiring drive, and I didn't want him to do it. And I went to bed late, and I woke up at 5:30, and I was just like, ooh. And I told him anyway, I said, okay, he insisted that he's going, and I said, okay, you're going? You're not going unless you write and get a bracha from the Lubavitcher Rebbe that this is a good idea. And if you don't write to the Rebbe, I'm going to lay on the roof of the car, and that's it. You'll have to drive with me on the roof of the car. And so,
Well, where would you get your stuff then?
So I told him, we'll just do something entirely different. We'll just do something
Okay.
entirely different. So it wasn't worth it to me, and he said it was worth it to him. So whatever. So anyway, in the morning before he left, he said, got my letter, and he gave me the letter, and the letter was such a beautiful letter, and it addressed exactly, it addressed exactly. It was a letter to me, really, and the Rebbe said that he got the letter, and he's going to remember both him and his family for what they need. And really, the Rebbe was not writing to Haskell Shimon. The Rebbe was writing to me, as you can see from what he says. And here's what the Rebbe says. And he wrote it on the 25th of Elul, which is the day the world was created, right? With reference to your writing about doubts and the difficulty about making decisions, and about a feeling of insecurity in general. And I was so nervous. It was like I was really nervous about him making this drive. So anyway, what you say about a feeling of insecurity in general, I trust it is unnecessary to elaborate to you at length that such feelings arise when a person thinks that he is alone and can only rely upon himself and his own judgment, and therefore feels doubtful and insecure about each move he has to make. And while he also trusts in God, this trust is somehow superficial, without permeating him and his way of life in every detail, and only on certain days, such as the high holidays, he feels more close to God. And usually I do feel extremely close to Hashem, and I'm really totally, I'm very, very confident, but there's something about this that really got me. The Rebbe says, when a person's faith is deep, and when he reflects that God's benevolent providence extends to each and every person, and to each and every detail, and each and every minute, surely he must develop a profound sense of security and confidence. And the last point is the point that I like the best. This is what the Rebbe said. The concept of divine providence is better understood in the original term, hashgacha pratis. For hashgacha means careful watchfulness, for which reason the term hashgacha is used in connection with the laws of kashrus, where every detail has to be carefully watched. And the letter goes on the next page, which we didn't get. We just opened to this page. So when God's watching over us is called hashgacha pratis, and hashgacha is the exact same words that are used in the kashrus industry. You have, if you're selling a kosher product, it has to have hashgacha, which means careful supervision from the very outset to the very end over every detail of the process. And so when you think that this is what Hashem does, he watches us with hashgacha pratis, with intense it is that thing, with intense surveying every detail, every single minute detail. Let me get rid of this thing. You are the culprit. Okay. Okay. With intense surveying of every single detail. Then as soon as I read that letter, I said, have a good trip. I'm fine. This is, sometimes we just forget that every single detail is intensely being observed, and nothing happens. And if something happens that you don't like, guess what? Somehow this is a gift for you. Like, as impossible as it is to understand in some circumstances. A very small example. My class this year is really a challenge. It's giving me a ride for my money. In the beginning of the year, I thought this is the easiest class I ever had. Now they're totally giving me a ride for my money ever since Udder opened up. And so I am, oh my goodness. So I'm intensely prepared every day. I make a detailed plan of what's going to happen in the classroom. And that gives me extra control. Today I went to school, and the whole class was there, including the ones that have been giving me a lot of trouble. And I love them all though. And I looked in my bag, and I didn't bring my plan. I didn't bring the schedule for the day, and I had to wing it. I was thinking, oh my gosh, I've got to wing it. And it was, and then I said, Shlomo Seudas, this is, just wing it. You'll see Hashem will be with you when you wing it. And I had no choice, and I had to wing it. And it was such a gift it was a gift from Hashem that I didn't bring the plan to school. Because had I followed the plan, I never would have been able to accomplish what I accomplished today. So, anyway, so I want to, part of being calm is realizing that every single thing that happens to you, this is my life. This is my mission. In Adar, I'm telling you, I don't usually have, I don't know. I think I've had extra challenges to my calm and my happiness. And sometimes I look at other people's lives and I say, I don't have that. And you know what? That person's life is totally irrelevant to me. This is my life, and this is my mission. And if this is my mission, this is the life I want to lead. And every detail of it, everything that I have and everything that I don't have, is designed for me by the master designer. And this is the life that I want. And only when a person embraces their life, that's what brings them calm. When they try and flee from their life, that destroys a person. But when we embrace our life, then good things happen. All sorts of things open up. So anyway, I just want to end with a thought that I do chitas every day. That means I do a section of the Chumash, a section of Tanya, and a section of Tehillim. And in the Chumash, we're intensely involved with Moshe Rabbeinu, Moses, and I, several weeks back, or maybe a week or two back, I don't remember when it is. I read the Rashi that I've read many times, which explains that even though it says at various points in the Torah, it says, and God spoke to Moses and Aaron. It says it about 11 times, something like that. Rashi explains that Hashem didn't actually speak to Aaron. The entire time he simply spoke to Moshe. It's said as an honor that he spoke to Moshe and Aaron, but it's not, but in fact, he spoke only to Moshe. And so I was thinking, and Moshe gives relayed everything to the Jewish people. And he told them, you have to do this, you have to do this, you have to do that. And they trusted him, and they did everything that he said to do, even though Nobody was there when he spoke to Hashem. Nobody. And he told Aaron, now you have to do this. Now you have to do that. Now you have to slaughter this cat. This cow. Now you have to sit at the entrance of the Mishkan, the tabernacle. You have to sit there for 7 days. Every single and Aaron said yes, 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 yes. And so I marveled over the faith of the Jewish people. It's true. They had several glimpses into Moshe's greatness. It's true. I mean, the Makos were an incredible, incredible thing. The splitting of the sea was an incredible thing. There are many things that were incredible. And later, when Moshe had the rays of light coming out of his head, that was incredible. But the fact of the matter is that nobody heard God speaking to Moses except for Moses. And they accepted this is what's happening. These are orders if it's coming out of Moshe's mouth, these are orders from Hashem. And so the faith that the Jews had in Moshe was remarkable. And we have to have the same faith in the leader of our generation, in the Moses of our generation. The Moses of our generation, which is the Rebbe, told us that we're crossing the threshold into the redemption. He told us that everything that's happening is part of the redemption, and he told us that Mashiach has already been anointed. Once Mashiach is anointed, Geula is a no-brainer. It's happening, and so anyway, the way the Jews in the desert believed in Moshe and did absolutely everything he said, even though they never saw Hashem, they never heard Hashem speaking to Moses, then that's how we have to be with the Rebbe. If the Rebbe says to do something, we have to do that. If the Rebbe says to talk to others about the Geula, the redemption, then that's what we have to do. So, yeah. And okay, one last point. It said that for all the things that happened to Moshe, for all the honors that he got, he was the most humble among men. And so it's a good lesson for us that a marvelous thing to do in Adar is to be humble in front of other Jews. If there's another Jew who irritates you madly, or who you don't respect, or who whatever, you have to somehow find it in yourself you don't have to condone what they do, but you have to say that, and you have to say to yourself, this is a Jew. What can I do to help them? It's not my business to make value judgments about this person. And to be humble, because that's what humility is. Humility is not making value judgments about another person, no matter what their external presentation. So that's the lesson I'm going to try and live with for the rest of Adar, to be humble in front of every Jew and not to make value judgments, just to think, okay, I don't condone what they do. I don't understand it, but what can I do to help this person? And anyway, I'm going to turn off the recording, and I'll be happy to take any questions.